there's been a couple of inquiries to sort of go, oh, like to know a little bit more about the gameplay, not familiar with Wildlands, blah blah blah. Show us the video that you were talking about. I deleted it. So here is a little video of the setup and gameplay for Judge Dredd Helter Skelter as per our take. So what we have done is literally as the book tells you. We have set up the board starting with the Enid Blyton Dantana block side of it, which is supposedly better for starting out because you've got a bit of cover going on in the room to room action down here and the open rooftop over here. So that's fair enough. We've opted for the judge gang and the cards are laid out. Wound counters are on them. Judge deck is here and our reference cards and our timey-wimey tokens tucked over there. And the Strontium Dogs over here, same idea, cards, minis, wound tokens, their deck, their reference cards and their time tokens. Because it's set up as a 2-player game, we have already removed all the multiplayer cards from the map deck and we throw those away. Not in the bin because you'll need them someday. And we have already shuffled all the decks, but just so that there can be no suggestion that it's all pre-rigged and preordained ahead of filament, we'll give that a little shuffle up there. And we'll give that another little shuffle there. And we'll give the judges 1, 2. And you get to witness my horrendous shuffling skills. They are truly atrocious. I'm surprised I haven't sent the cards all over the table. Now, it's just me, 1, playing 2. I will not try and let the judges win. I will try and be fair. But, start a game, everyone gets their 7 cards. So we've got our hand of 7 there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the judges. Just set those there for now. Now, start of the game, everyone gets 10 map cards. And we'll set those others aside. We'll lift the rule book out of the road there for a second too. So the first thing you do is, as a player, you will look at the 10 cards you've been dealt. Just double check, that seems like an awful lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so the judges got these 10 really well shuffled cards. And they're not badly shuffled. Okay, so the idea here is that you will look at these and these all correspond to numbered areas on the map and you will select 1 for each of your miniatures and slide it under their card in secret. This will represent where they will be deployed onto the table. Now, we're in a beautiful position here should we want to deploy our team very close together, which could be nice for support. Or we have a couple of options to send some of them out and spread our gang around, maybe hold one back as a little bit of a surprise. If we're going to be over here, there's a good chance that the five cards that we're going to give away, it's not a good chance, sorry, 5 of the cards will be given to our opponent, so we know they're going to be putting their time tokens on 5 of these cards, the 5 that we don't use. Now, if we look at that, you can look at the board and you can see where all these positions are. 22's over here. We've got 12, 13, 11, 8, 9, 17, you know, scattered around. We could look at that and sort of think, we could push all their time tokens together. We could purposely make sure their time tokens are quite spread out and make life a little bit more awkward for them. That sounds like an idea to me. So from that point of view, we could be giving away the 3. We could give away, say, the 36. That's sort of opposite ends of the spectrum. Let's give them the likes of the 12 right into the middle of our lines. We'll give them the 22 because that's reasonably spread out as well. Now we're kind of going to be sort of thinking, well, if we do 9, 10, 11, 13 and 14 for our team, there we go, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, think about this, we know that that's where they're going to have to put their time tokens. We now know this is where our faction's going to go, and it's down to the player to decide who's going out. Remember, Anderson is psi ability and fisticuffs. Judge Giant is shooting. Chief Judge Hershey is good at sort of the leadership, getting the whole team to move, giving out the orders, and a little bit of combat. Dredd obviously is a combat brick, and Mean Machine is the definitive wall. So we probably don't want Dredd and Mean and Giant necessarily side by side. So if we kind of plan to spread them out a little bit, that's sort of the best spread of that. Oops, sliding onto the board, come back. And then we'll throw these out. Well, actually, we're not going to, well, yeah, just realised 10 is right here. 10 is a very forward position. I'm going to swap that with Giant. Because Giant has, well, he's only got 3 wounds, but he's got the longer range. So sticking him out here, blocking this bridge, sort of thinking that might be a useful thing to do. Okay? Now, of course, your opponent in reality would not have heard that conversation in our head. They wouldn't know why we've chosen these cards. Meanwhile, they're busy looking at their arrangement of cards. And they're trying to decide pretty much the same thing. Now, the Strontium Dog team, we've got shooting, first aid, special power vampirism, ooh, scary stuff. They're all pretty good and pretty handy, but Wolf is really our only brick at 4. The rest of them are all 3 wounds. Grunk is not going to be a combat dude at all. He might get the odd punch in desperation, but we're not going to want to rely on Grunk for doing too much like that. So I'm thinking we're going to want to keep Johnny's team fairly close together insofar as possible. And looking at that, we've 18, 19, 21, 27 and 29, or we could slip the 17, 17, 18, 19, there's 3, 21 and 27, not a bad spread. I'm in this case thinking more about trying to keep them together for strength of numbers on each other. And then what happens, you will pass the cards to the player on your right, like so. Oh, we need to get these fired under here first. So both players will have selected those cards sort of in secret, trying not let on what their tactic is. As you can see, we don't really have much of a tactic here tonight. It's more about just doing it. So once you've swapped the other 5, then both parties have to place their time tokens on the cards they've been given. So 22, 6, 12. Ooh, right on Dredd's side there. 36. And 3. Okay, it's inside. These cards are now discarded from the game. And the judges. 38. 29. 34, 5, and 30. So, those are discarded from the game as well. We can already see at that it's a fairly interesting spread for the tokens. There's going to be a fair bit of interaction here. There's going to be a little bit potentially over there. Now, just to clarify the relevance of these tokens in terms of the game, the colour relates to your team. You are collecting tokens of time that represent your time zone, and by collecting enough, you are helping to shore up the rips in reality that are going to tear your time zone apart. The Strontium Dogs are only interested in saving their time zone. The judges are only interested in saving their time zone. Everybody else is expendable in this mission, okay? For each piece of your time zone that you secure, you score 1 victory point. First person to score 5 victory points wins. However, if as a result of moving around the map, engaging with your opponents, you happen to kill one, and that's done by removing all 3 of their wounds or 4 of their wounds, their card flips to the wounded side, and their player pawn goes to your side as another VP. So each member of the opposition that you do manage to take out also counts as a victory point. Now, in a 2-player game, straightforward, it's first to 5. In a multiplayer game, slight change to that. If a player is eliminated completely, the player with the highest VPs at that point immediately wins and the game's over. Okay, so you don't keep on playing to 5. So while somebody can be put out of the game, that essentially ends the game. So there we go, that's that. After this, first player token is the next thing that's dished out, and this is handed to the side whose token is on the lowest map section, and we know that that is already the 3 for the Strontium Dogs. So the Strontium Dogs take the first player token and start the game. So starting your turn, you can refer to the reference card or the rulebook. The rulebook itself isn't a huge struggle to deal with the turn sequence rules. The card's a little bit abbreviated. There's just a little bit more clarity in the rulebook. Don't be tempted, even in a 2-player game, to pull out the reference cards from the other 2 faction decks, because remember that the other sides of these, it's the special rules specific to the faction, and this sort of spread of the odds of what symbols are on your deck and the number of them is different for each deck. They're not just duplicate decks with a different faction symbol on it. Each deck is structured slightly differently too. So the only side that has relevance is the turn card. You could pull that out so that you could have the other copy of this. And this is the defense breakdown. So the attack actions, and then what cards you can expend to defend against the different types of attack. Okay? It's probably worth your while before you start taking a minute or 2 to check through the special rules like the vampirism, like the high explosives and the psi abilities to know what they do. I mean, the high explosives, for example, you can target an individual, but if there's multiple models in the space, you can declare that you're making them all defenders. They all have to choose whether to defend or not with a card action and what type of card action, friend and foe, and they take damage if they can't block from it. That could be worth your while too as a tactic. The vampirism, whenever you inflict a wound in melee with Dredd, she can actually restore a wound. She can't exceed her health, but if she's lost a wound, she can actually restore a wound by essentially draining energy from her opponent. So, the first thing you can do is deploy a character. You can deploy any character you like, and to do so, all you will need to do is select their map card, declare it, and place them on the appropriate space. So in this case, Mitten Face McNulty is going on to 18. And that map card, rather like the ones at the start of the game, gets discarded from the match. Okay. Now, you can choose to play actions with Midden Face straight away. You can carry on deploying. The second step is deploy a character and take actions. Obviously, you have to have somebody on the board, so your first action has to be to deploy a character. And after that, you can choose to deploy an act or deploy them all and then go back to doing actions, whatever way you like. The card out says, second step, deploy a character, take an action, discard cards to pay for each action, repeat this step any number of times. But when you check the actual rule book for that, deploy a character or take an action, repeat any number of times. To deploy a character, follow the instructions under step 1. To take an action, choose a standard or combat action and declare the cards required, then perform this action. All the actions are described later in this rule book. Always take one action at a time. There's a reason for that too. And you may take this step as many times or not at all. You may deploy and take actions in any order. I know we're being a bit long-winded about that, but it's just to be as clear as we can on what way that works. So yeah, Midden Face isn't too close. He's going to be at least 1, 2, 3 spaces away. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 spaces away from any of those. So we're happy enough not to be moving him. Much like we were thinking about Judge Giant, he's kind of blocking one of the bridges. He's in a position to go either way on the map board, but he's a good blocker to have there. So we'll go on with our next character, and we'll go with Durham Red. She is going to be on 21. And 21 is right over here. Now, 21 is slap bang beside one of the objectives. Now, here's how it starts to work, okay? You have all these lovely cards, but be aware of a few things. Down one side of the card, you've got the character symbol, okay? And that corresponds to the top of each of their character cards. If it's highlighted, that character can be ordered, and this second column is a linked action. They can do the thing that's linked there. At the bottom, we have a wild action. It's not linked to anybody in particular, so anyone that's ordered this way can use it, okay? And you can see as we go through the cards, there's different combinations of who is active. This is an interrupt symbol, the exclamation mark, and you'll see the green ones are normally defensive options and the red ones are attack options. Except for the fists and melee, red attack options are also the defense choice as well. But to activate a model, you must spend a card that has their character symbol on it, okay? So with Durham out and nearly all these cards having her symbol on it, it would make sense to do something with her. With 2 symbols right beside her. It's going to cost us a card, first of all, to move her. So let's spend the interrupt. We know the opponents aren't out on the board yet, so we'll spend an interrupt card to move her. She moves to here. Now, you think, great, going to get a point straight away and lift a time token. Costs you to lift a time token. Costs 3 cards. And again, they've got to have her symbol on it. So that card's no use to us. This one is, and this one is. Now, we know that we still have Johnny and Wolf and Grunk to come out. All these cards have Johnny's symbol on it. Only this one has Wolf and only this one has Grunk. So it would probably be a good idea to keep Grunk and keep Wolf in case we need them. And we'll spend those 3 and we get our time token. And that's the first point we've scored. Now, we're down to 3 cards. Okay. We'll bring on Johnny. Oh, discard that card as well. Johnny comes on at 19. And that should be over here somewhere. I've lost it. I've put the tokens on top of the numbers, which is a bit silly of me. Well, he won't be on in them. There's 17, 18. You've probably seen it before me. 19. So he's all the way over there. We're not going to act with him. We'll bring Wolf on to 27. There we go. And again, Wolf's got a fair dander to go anywhere, but he is quite far back. This will be giving me a defensive action with Wolf, but I think he's far enough back that anyone coming onto the board from the judges probably isn't going to be much of a risk. So I'm going to spend that one to get Wolf to move one up. Okay. So down to 2 cards, and the Grunk comes on at 17. Now, that was a miscalculation. Should have paid more attention. We've kind of put the Grunk quite a bit out on his own. Had forgotten that he wasn't going to be over with these 3. We knew he was going to be kind of on his Todd, but we've ended up leaving the Grunk a little bit vulnerable, possibly. I do have a card with the Grunk that I can move him. Feel tempted to draw him back, but it's only going to leave us 1 card left. We'll spend it, bring him back a space, and that's it. I don't want to do anything else. Don't want to risk going down too far because I'm only going to get 3 cards back now. So I declare that that's the end of my turn, and I get 1, 2, 3 cards. That's all you'll get. You'll only get 3 back. Doesn't matter how many you spend, you'll get 3. And if the 3 would take you above 7, you only draw up to your 7th card, and then you stop. Okay, so that's what we're left with. We can see straight away we've no interrupt actions, so we'll not be doing anything to really annoy the judges in their turn. But at least if we come into fisticuffs or get shot at, we have a few options there to deflect or dodge as well. So that's our hand. First player token passes to the judges, and the judges get a look at their cards. Sorry if you maybe can't see the cards just as clearly. It's always a possibility. So again, not a bad spread. Most of ours, as I kind of expected, allowing us to certainly order Dredd. Mean gets a couple there. Sai only is getting a couple. And Judge Giant's getting 3. And the Chief Judge is on all but 1. So Chief Judge, all but 2. So Chief Judge is potentially our most mobile character. So what we'll do is we'll bring Dredd on first. And he comes on at 11. And there we are at 11. Now, what can we do? You immediately think, well, he can shoot somebody, can't he? Well, his line of sight is blocked to midden face and the Grunk, unfortunately, because the yellow outline signifies a wall. The magnetic outline signifies a drop, so this is a space that you can't walk through, you can only fly through it. But we do have lines of sight to Durham Red and to Wolf Hammerstein. We know Durham Red is a bit of a problem. Wolf's their brick, fair enough, but this lady here, of course, is going to be quite hard to kill with her ability to draw blood. So we can choose to shoot with Dredd using his target symbol, and since the no line of sight interruption, she's not in the same square, so we do have to check that line of sight isn't blocked, but she's not in the same square, so we are playing a shoot action on Durham. Now, just to remind ourselves, the shoot action here, and it can be defended with any of these symbols. Now, just to break down what those symbols mean, because they're not all as straightforward. Okay, we have deflect. Costs 1 card with the deflect symbol on it. when the character is target of a snipe, shotgun, or explode action, make this defense out of turn to avoid all damage. Precog cover. Now, cover on the board is only achievable if you're in a space that has a black numbered circle on it, not a blue one. You can treat these have cover available, and if you've got a card that's got the cover symbol, you can spend that card for a miniature in this space to take advantage of the cover. And when this card is the target of a snipe or shotgun action, and it is a cover space, make this defense out of turn to avoid all damage from that action. Note, it's a snipe or a shotgun action, okay? The judges, of course, again, just a reminder, the judges, of course, have high X. That's what their symbol, and that's what Dredd is getting. So high X isn't blocked by cover. And the precog is when a character is the target of snipe, shotgun, or explode action, make this defense to avoid all damage from that action. And I'll be surprised if the Strunts have any of that. So, what can we do for Durham Red? We've got a cover one, no use, she's in a blue space. We have a deflect. And we have another deflect. Now, the defense cards, to the best of our knowledge, do not have to have the character symbol on it. When this character is the target of a snipe, shotgun, or explode action, make this defense out of turn to avoid that action. It's wild, anyone can use it. So that's what we will do. We will spend one of the deflects, and Durham is saved from that shit, and that gets discarded. So that didn't work out too well for Dredd. What else can we do? Do we need to do anything else? Well, we probably should. And we have another Dredd. Should I? Is it worth it? You would probably think, well, yeah, how many deflects are they going to have? So you would probably take another crack at Durham. In which case we have to look. Now, we know that they've got 4 more characters to bring out. We know that they've played 2 cards now. They've still got quite a few cards. We're down to 3. We have 1 deflect left. She's only got 3 wins, but again, you think, well, she can get wins back by attacking somebody melee. Maybe we can afford to let her take 1 just in case somebody more important is the target of an attack in a later turn. And so we decide not to play a card in defense. Dredd's attack gets through, and Durham loses a wound. Just the 1. Still got 2. Now, of course, if Dredd decides to shoot again, that might change things. As it is, he can't, thankfully. Okay? So, back to bringing characters onto the board, and now we're going to bring out Giant. And he comes on at space 10. And that's slap bang right there. Being closer doesn't really help. It doesn't make much of a difference. The only difference here is he's now in a position where he can shoot at these guys if we wanted to. Now, Giant's action cards. We've got 2 with Giant. We've got 1 for hand to hand. We've got 1 that he can do a defensive action as well there. We've very little in terms of wild actions other than a melee. So unfortunately, though Giant is in a good position, there's not an awful lot he can do for us. But he's right beside a timepiece. So we can spend 1 of his cards to move him forward 1. Now we know it's going to cost us 3 to lift that. So we're not going to lift it yet. Let's keep our opponent guessing as to either we don't have the cards to do it, which we don't. That's true. But it does look as if he is in a position to do something. We'll bring out Anderson onto 13. We'll bring out Mean onto 9. and we'll bring out the Chief Judge onto 14. Oh, that's kind of close for comfort. The Chief Judge got a couple of orders there, but more importantly, she has a shoot action. Okay, now we could move her and she could go into hand-to-hand combat. She's not a big fighter, but she could at least go into hand-to-hand combat. But he's right beside the Grunk in terms of healing abilities for the next round anyway. What would you do? I don't know what I would do. We could have shot with Anderson as well. Yeah, to heck with it. Let's do it. Let's take the shoot action with Chief Judge on Midden Face McNulty. So we have to go back here and see what wilds we've got. And Midden Face has a deflect, and he's on a blue space, so he can't use cover. So we'll spend the deflect, and that negates that hit. We can go back to our Chief Judge and look and go, well, that's pretty much all we can do there. Now, we will call an end to the judge's turn there. They'll get 3 new cards. A lot more giant cards. Perfect if we're wanting to pick up that timepiece. Oh, and we need to discard those map counters. But that's the end of the judge's turn, and the first player marker would come back to the Strontium Dogs. And that's it. That's a turn. It carries on like that until one side is eliminated or has 5 victory points. End of. If you ever deplete your draw deck, you then reshuffle your discard pile and create a new draw deck and carry on like so. So, I mean, just at the start of this next turn, because we had to play the defensive cards, we've literally kicked off with 2 here, okay? Midden Face is good to go, Johnny good to go, Wolf and the Grunk. Midden Face would be an ideal kind of one to do something here. Now, he has the explode icon, we haven't mentioned that as yet. Explodes in the rulebook there. Cost 1 card with the explode symbol linked. Choose an adjacent space or space you're on with at least 1 enemy character. Each character on that space is a defender. You do not need line of sight to the target space, but the space must share a border with your current space. Each defender must make a deflect or precog defense or take 1 damage. It's possible to damage and kill your own character with an explode action. You can make a defense against your own explode action as normal. So do remember friendly fire is a thing. So it would be an absolute shame not to have a go with this and play explode against the Chief Judge. Why would you not? Can the Chief Judge do anything? Well, she's in a blue square, so there's no cover for her. And she has 1 deflect card that she could play. We've got 1 wild deflect, and she's on the card as well. So the Chief Judge can play deflect to get rid of that. Unfortunately, we're losing a linked shoot card from her. Midden Face, we're down to 1 card. Do we commit all we can? Because Midden Face can play a shoot action again on the Chief Judge since she's just beside him. Is he going to hope that she can't do anything more? And in actual fact, she can't. So the Chief Judge takes a wound. Ta-da, like that. So, but that means that the Strunts have played all their cards. They've nothing left to do. They've no cards left to spend to move or do anything else. Bit of a disadvantage. They'll draw up 3 cards. I'm probably going to spend a couple of turns trying to be careful and shepherd these cards, even though that's quite good for a big offensive on the judges there with Midden Face. or getting Wolf up and moving. It doesn't give them an awful lot of flexibility, so have to be a bit careful next turn. Pass back to the judges. Judges take a look. And there's still a fair few things open for the judges to do, and one of the sensible ones at this point would seem to be to spend 3, get rid of those, and get that time token. Now we're even Stevens again. Leaves us 2 cards, almost as bad a position as our friends, so I would say no to playing anything else. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and finally we get an interrupt card, which means we can actually try and do things to annoy the Strunts during their turn. But that's it. That's essentially now 2 turns, and that just carries on. I don't see much need to keep playing. For your visual benefit, I think you hopefully have got the gist of what's happening there. I don't think we've got it wrong. If we have, it's a misinterpretation, and we will eat humble pie. But the rules seem fairly transparent, and that seems to be everything that they indicate happening. There is no weird tricks in this one. The tricks are down to careful management of your cards, and probably never letting yourself be left with none, because then your opponent has a turn of free reign where they know you can't do anything to them. So yeah, there we go. That's Helter Skelter. Thanks for watching.